All right, well, it looks like we have people joining. So welcome everyone to today's webinar hosted by caring.com. Now, everyone joining this webinar knows that home care is a crowded industry. It may seem like no matter what town or city that you're operating in, it can be difficult to stand out and get discovered by potential clients. So today's presentation is all about how to shine a spotlight on your agency, grab customers' attention with your online presence, and more importantly, keep it, converting those inquiries into new clients. So as we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. First off, this is a one-way webcast, meaning only the presenters will have video and audio throughout today's presentation. However, we'd still love to hear from you. At any point throughout the webinar, if you have a question, please submit it through the Q&A section within Zoom. We will be answering those questions live following the presentation. And one of the questions that we always receive is, will this webinar be recorded? And the answer is yes, we are recording today's session, and we'll be sending out both the recording as well as the slides in the next couple of days. You can also find our entire webinar archive on partners.caring.com. Now, this free webinar is brought to you by caring.com. And for anyone joining who may be less familiar, Caring has a portfolio of websites and referral services that millions of people use to research senior living and senior care. Our mission is to help as many seniors and their caregivers as possible through empathetic expert guidance. And thousands of home care agencies partner with Caring to reach their target audience who's actively searching online for care solutions. And one of the many reasons that care seekers turn to Caring is for our high integrity reviews program, where we have over 375,000 consumer reviews. My name is Olivia Duke. I'm the B2B Marketing Director here at Caring, and I'll be serving as the moderator for today's presentation. More importantly, I'm excited to introduce you all to our expert presenters for today. We are joined by two of the top leaders at corecubed, an in-home care marketing company that uses home healthcare sales and marketing talent to promote care companies. Amy Sell, the Vice President of corecubed, has decades of experience in care marketing. Amy is a strategic marketing partner to corecubed clients, helping them achieve results in an increasingly dynamic marketplace. Marissa Snook, the president and CEO of corecubed, has worked in public relations and marketing for over 20 years, with a focus on in-home care marketing since 2005. She leads a talented team whose bench strengths include decades of home care marketing experience, digital marketing degrees, and content writing and search marketing certifications. Our presenters speaking today bring a wealth of experience and knowledge around in-home care marketing and sales that we hope informs your strategy around in-home care marketing and how to make your agency stand out. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Marissa to walk you through the agenda for today's presentation.
Thanks so much, Olivia. Before we dive into what we're going to cover today, just to note, I've talked to a lot of companies that are just starting out in the home care business, and usually within the first 5 minutes or so of talking to them, I can tell whether or not they're going to be successful. Because I ask them, why did you get into the care industry? And sometimes they say something to the effect of, well, because there's a high demand for home care services and there's the baby boomer generation, so it seemed to be a good business decision. But you can no longer just hang a shingle and expect business is going to come, because as Olivia said, it is getting to be an increasingly crowded market. You have got to chase that business down. You've got to fight for it. And the most winning strategy for success has to involve a really great marketing plan. So today we're going to talk about why your website's going to be your most important marketing tool. We're going to cover what makes up a great digital marketing strategy to get your name seen, recognized, and chosen. And we're going to cover how to reap the rewards of your marketing by closing the sale and providing excellent service. So we can go to the next slide. First impressions are everything when it comes to your website. And according to studies, you have somewhere in the realm of 10 seconds to capture someone's attention or have them move on to somewhere else. I read recently that nowadays there are over 1.7 billion websites out there to choose from. I think it was in 2013, there were only about 630 million. So if that gives you an idea of the amount of growth of digital marketing, that's part of the reason why you have to fight for your space online. We can go to the next slide. Let's talk about what comprises a great digital marketing strategy. And we have Amy Selly, who's going to cover that for us.
Thank you. So this is about building your brand into your website. And it's important to build your brand messaging into all of your marketing efforts. Your website just happens to be your most important marketing vehicle. And when we talk about branding, it's not just about your logo design and your color palette. It's also about the messages that you use to connect with the people that you want to attract. Your website is your biggest opportunity to build trust and to align yourself with both consumers and job seekers. So let's talk about alignment first. Your mission and your company values help create alignment with consumers and job seekers. So if your company's values are, let's say, responsiveness, reliability, respect, and kindness, a customer can read that and think, hey, that jives with what I want in a home care company. Or they might read it and say, what about innovation? Are they using technology tools to improve efficiency? You should really dig into what consumers want when evaluating your core values. On the other hand, trust marks are signals of your company's achievement as verified by another party. So trust marks could include things like Home Care Pulse Awards, Better Business Bureau ratings, accreditations that your company has achieved, or special training programs, even active home care association memberships. These tell a customer that you have achieved more than just opening your doors for business. Instead, these things say that you're engaged in making improvements that a third party can verify or measure, and you're engaged in continuing to learn how to be a better home care provider. We recommend getting those brand messages and trust marks as high on your website homepage as possible. All right, and as Marissa said, you have seconds to make a first impression, including when people visit your website. Therefore, it's essential to take the most professional approach possible. You might have an excellent idea for a logo, everyone does, but it's important to work with a professional graphic designer to bring that idea to life, or to tell you that it's impossible to do everything you're asking in one logo. Sometimes company owners have unrealistic expectations for what can be done with a logo. And we've seen some really bad home care company logos, unfortunately. But I think it's important for you to know what makes them bad. Usually they're bad because they're too abstract, meaning the viewer doesn't really know what's happening in the logo. They have too much going on, or they just look amateurish, like a graphic designer did not design them. There are some crowdsourcing sites you can use to get your logo where it needs to be. One of the ones that we recommend is called Design Crowd. You can explain what you want, and several designers will create logos to match your request, and you pay only for the one that you choose. Creating a balance of imagery and text is also essential. We recommend choosing images that are more about how your customers will feel if they use your service, and less literal about showing what your company does. So for instance, instead of showing a caregiver feeding an older adult, show the caregiver and the client at the kitchen table together, smiling with food and maybe a vase of flowers. You want to show them that when they use a home care service, they're going to feel like the people in the image. Text should be broken into small paragraphs and bullet points. Remember that readers skim, and breaking up the text helps them do that. Many will stop reading after the first sentence if they see a very lengthy paragraph. We also recommend that you hire a professional photographer or buy images from a professional stock photography website like Getty Images or iStock. It's also important to keep your navigation clean and simple. Overdoing it is not the way to go for a home care website. People who are searching for home care for a loved one are already stressed, and your site shouldn't make them feel more overwhelmed. And finally, websites require monthly maintenance to continue to work the right way. Nothing sends a user away faster than a slow page load time, a broken link, or another error. Ensure that you have someone who can maintain the website from a technical standpoint. All right, let's talk about the digital characteristics of an effective website. So your website should be built with a responsive design. And responsive design means that the site adjusts automatically to whatever device the user is viewing it on, like a mobile phone or a tablet, not just viewable on a desktop computer. Your website should also have some degree of accessible design. You can purchase several plugins on the market for your website to help you make it more accessible for users. One of those is called userway.org, and it will help with text size, contrast, and other things to make the site more usable for people with disabilities. It's also important to help users understand what to do next on your site by employing a variety of calls to action, or CTAs, as we call them. CTAs help the user understand the path that they should follow on the site. CTAs should stand out from the rest of the text. And an example of a CTA could be as simple as a button that says "Contact us," or "I need a caregiver," "Get started," "Learn more," "Schedule time to talk with us," etc. On a website, it's also really important to update your content regularly with topics that matter to your audience. We call this relevant content. One of the ways that Google decides which sites to offer in search returns is to judge which ones are providing users with new content that is relevant to them. Don't just post any content on your website or your blog. Post content that you know is helpful to someone managing care for a loved one. And finally, like we said before, your website needs to be properly maintained. Like your smartphone, your website's operating system needs to be updated throughout the year, as do the apps or plugins that are being used on your website. If you don't keep all of that updated, your site will start to lose functionality and may even break, which will frustrate your visitors and cause them to leave the site. Okay, so on this next slide, we've posted some examples of website homepages that follow the methodologies we've just talked about. The examples shown here are from Carolina Hearts Home Care, Dakota Home Care, and Abrio Home Care. You can see that their logos are professionally designed. You can also see that they've worked brand messaging high on the page. They've also worked their trust marks high onto the page. They're showing their licensure numbers, their Home Care Pulse customer and employee satisfaction awards, Better Business Bureau, A+ rating, accreditations that they've achieved, association memberships, etc. And then they go right into CTAs that help site visitors quickly get where they need to go. So for instance, the first CTAs you see after the navigation are "Arrange for care" and "Join our team." This is quickly helping people who are either care seekers or job seekers get to the right place on the site for them. You'll also notice on these sites that the images follow our guidelines for showing what people will feel like when they receive care from your company. And they're not too literal, showing someone being fed or pushed in a wheelchair. They're happy photos. Home care is about improving daily life. So people should feel good when they use your services. And the images you choose should reflect that feeling. Finally, if you go to these sites, you'll find that they do not have too much text. They're very well organized and they don't overwhelm the user with too much information or too many visuals. So some common mistakes that are made on home care websites, which we've mentioned some of them, but we're also going to include a few others. What comes with our experience of having built many websites is an understanding of both the technical aspects of building and the user experience or navigational aspects. And it's true that there's quite a few DIY website building programs out there, but that doesn't make you a website expert. What we see with novice sites is that a lot of things just get missed, like working on the front end, but not the back end. Or the sites don't have an organized navigation and take the visitor in unhelpful circles. And again, we recommend that images are either taken by a professional for your agency specifically, or that you've purchased them from a stock photography site. Again, images should show how people feel when they use your service. And they don't have to be so literal to show what the caregivers do. You can sprinkle a few of those in, but don't lead with them. And ensure that those are also warm, happy images. We frequently see that there's either too much text on a website or there's not enough. Or if there's an optimal amount of text, it might not be broken up in a way that organizes it better for the reader. Next, remember that home care is becoming more competitive as baby boomers age. So it's super important to create alignment with consumers and job seekers through brand messages that really resonate with them. And establishing trust is something that you want to do right away. It's paramount for a service industry like home care, where you're going into someone's home to provide very personal services. Okay, so the solution, just to kind of recap, is to build your brand, invest in your website, ask for reviews, and attract traffic to your website. It's always important to take some time to evaluate what parts of this can you do yourself and what should you outsource. You might be a good writer who can create your company's brand messaging and then continue to refine it over time. But if writing is not your strong suit, you'll want to seek help with branding. And I'm going to go out on a limb to say that people opening a home care business or running an established one should not build or write their websites unless they have some professional experience doing so. And even then, it will take a great deal of invested and dedicated focused time to accomplish that project. In terms of asking for reviews, that's something you can definitely do on your own and teach your team to do the same. And good Google reviews will help elevate your presence on the web. And there's also apps that you can use to ask your referral sources and your customers and their family members and your employees for reviews all at once to make that a more automated process. And finally, attracting traffic to your website is the next step. And Marissa is going to talk about how to get people to your site.
I love the subtitle on this because, of course, I'm a big Shakespeare nerd. To PPC or not to PPC? And if you don't know what that means, I will explain it shortly. So probably the most important piece of marketing advice that I give to agencies is to really understand their target audience and really speak to them with the digital marketing. And to connect with consumers and referral sources through your website and reach them ahead of your competition by being as visible as possible in those search results, you have to first understand how people search for care solutions online. We can go ahead to the next slide. So what are the words that they type into their phones or their computer browsers? Those words are called keywords, and it's part of how Google determines what websites to list in search results. There's a lot of tools available out there to show you ranking of keywords, both nationally and on a local level. And you can see in those tools about how often those keywords are searched on a monthly basis and how much competition there is out there for those keywords. So a professional company who's skilled in SEO will be able to put together the most advantageous keywords for your services and marry them to your website. It's also important to research your competitors' websites. And keep in mind that your online competitors may not just be the agency down the street, because you're competing again for those keywords that are searched. So research what other websites are ranking well for the keywords that you want to target, or have a professional company do that for you. And take lessons from those sites and apply those lessons to your own site. Like Amy was saying, take a look at how the content is formatted. Does it flow in an easy to read manner? Is it well organized? And of course, there's tools to help you with that by measuring the effectiveness of your website layout. Heat mapping is a great tool to use. It places a little code on the end of your site, and you can track users' behavior on the different pages of your site. You can see, like, if they're scrolling to the bottom of a page, are they missing your click to call button? Are they clicking on text that currently isn't clickable? Looking at this real user behavior on your website can help you make very informed decisions over how to improve the user experience on your site, which of course then can turn into more calls and contact form fills. A/B testing is a way to measure small changes in your website copy or your design to get more people to take the actions you want them to take on your website, whether that's, again, clicking your phone number, filling out a form, or maybe navigating to a different page of your site. How it works is it presents one version of your web page about half the time and the other version the other half of the time. And then it's going to measure how often on each version people take the action you want them to take. And there's several different paid services out there that can help do A/B testing on your site. And of course, measuring the customer journey through your site means using tools like Google Analytics, so you can see what page of your site they start on and where they go on your site from there. Looking at this data can help you better direct users through your website. So for example, if they start on your About Us page and the data shows that typically after that, they then go to your services page next, make sure you have a button on that About page that leads users to your services page. Help them through that journey. Jumping over from SEO to PPC or Google Ads or Google pay-per-click, it's all the same. If you've ever forayed into that world of PPC, you may know that it can be pretty complicated, and it's really easy to spend a lot of money really quickly and not necessarily get the kind of results that you were hoping for. So here's a few tips on how to help get the best return on your investment with Google Ads. I always say, unless you've been trained in how to manage Google Ads, I just wouldn't recommend attempting it on your own. It can be very complicated, and you can spend a lot of money pretty fast. But if you work with someone who really knows what they're doing, they're going to be able to drive more qualified leads to your traffic. Otherwise, you may find that your ads are just driving people who are looking for work, or maybe they're from geographic areas that are outside of where you service. And you don't want to be spending clicks on that. PPC can allow you to get pretty fast results But don't expect that you're going to turn on your ads on a Monday and by Tuesday you're going to be flooded with calls. That's not quite the way it works. Google goes through what's called a learning phase with your ads, and it can take up to 90 days for your ads to really settle in to producing quality leads. Now, I'm not saying that you aren't going to get any leads before then. It's just important to level set your expectations and know that it is going to improve and results are going to start producing more quality leads over time. Another benefit of PPC is it allows you to target very specific geographic regions with your ads. You can set your ads to only show to people within a specific area or location, or you can also target them to show your ads to people who are maybe not necessarily in that location, but interested in that location. And that may help for people who are out of town adult children who are searching for care for a parent in a different state. And PPC is really easy to adapt. You can turn your ads on, you can turn them off. You can switch between a campaign that's targeted to clients with a campaign targeted at recruiting caregivers, add a campaign with specialized services like dementia care or live-in care. Just remember that it is an ad. So once you stop paying Google, the benefits go away instantly. A lot of clients new to digital marketing ask me, should I start with PPC or should I start with SEO or should I do both? If you can, I always recommend to do both because each service is going to really help the other improve faster. But if you need to choose one versus the other, here's some things to think about. If your website is old, or maybe you just aren't really super proud of it, a PPC campaign can bypass your site by directing traffic to a new landing page, which serves as like a one-page advertisement for your agency. It doesn't provide navigation to all the other parts of your website. Its main purpose is to just quickly say what it has to say and direct users to click the phone number or fill out the contact form on that page. PPC is also a good option if you are desperate for new leads quickly, have a new service you really want to tout, and you're ready to pay Google each month for better visibility. Now, on the other hand, if you're really proud of your website design and maybe it's just not producing the amount of leads you think it should, and you want to steadily grow traffic to your site over time, SEO may be the right choice for you. SEO or search engine optimization is going to give you longer term results, but keep in mind it's not a set it and forget it strategy. That said, unlike PPC ads, if you stop doing SEO for a month or so, let's qualify that by saying you've done SEO for a while, you want to take a break, you can and still get positive growth on your site for a few months after stopping SEO. So it takes longer to really see results, but those results are going to last longer. As with any marketing effort, it is important to measure for results. Do more of what's working, less of what is not. With SEO and PPC, you get a lot of data to look at, and it's really easy to get caught in the weeds with these small increases or decreases from one month to the next. So it's really important to keep your mind on the end goal. Are you getting more qualified leads than before? Or, if you're seeing increases in traffic, but users aren't converting, meaning they're not calling you from the website or they're not filling out your forms, investigate in that data why that might be. Could you do an A/B test to help? Should you simplify your contact form? Maybe they're missing the contact information on your site entirely, and you can see that through a heat map. So use those tools then to answer those mysteries from the data. And set goals. How fast do you want to grow? With Google's PPC tools, you can get estimates for about how much you'll need to spend on a monthly basis to get a certain number of conversions or leads per month. And, as your SEO improves, if you're doing both SEO and PPC, you may be able to reduce the amount you spend on your PPC ads. But keep it realistic. Here's some data on the care industry averages for PPC. Average cost per click, that's them clicking on your ad, $4.22. Average cost per lead or conversion is $50.91. Click-through rate 6.36, and average monthly spend 1,250. Now, I'm not saying you have to spend a minimum of $1,250 with Google in order to do PPC ads. You can definitely spend less than that. These are just averages. So keep that in mind. And if you make changes, test them, track them, do more of what works, change what doesn't, and then do it all over again. I'm going to pass it back to Amy.
Thank you. Okay. I think this one might still be you. Why do results vary?
Oh, yes. Results definitely vary because there are different characteristics in your market. Let's say you are in a metropolitan area versus a place that doesn't have as much competition. Well, you would expect that you are going to have to spend a little bit more money in that metropolitan area because you're going to have a lot more competitors. So keep that in mind. Work with a company that is going to properly manage all of your digital marketing. I have talked to agencies that have worked with companies that set a plan and then don't touch it again until the end of the month when they look at results. You want to work with a company that is constantly monitoring and working on all of your digital marketing needs. It certainly helps to work with a company that understands home care and home health care. There is nothing more frustrating than working with a company that you have to educate on the lingo and tell them, no, that language doesn't quite work. That's actually for a slightly different service. If you work with a marketing company that understands the industry, you don't have to go through that step. And of course, inquiry handling, if you're going to drive all of this traffic to your website and do all of this work on getting people to your website and getting them to fill out your forms and call you, you want to make sure that once they do reach you, that you're going to handle that properly. And now I will turn it over to Amy.
There we go. Okay. So you've gone through the process of creating a great website, and you've worked on getting qualified traffic to your website. And now people are calling you or filling out your website forms, but the marketing process does not end there. In fact, some would say this is the most crucial part. So let's dig into how to maximize converting callers into clients and using best practices for handling incoming inquiry calls. Okay, so great inquiry management is essential for so many reasons. You've put a lot of money and effort into getting qualified leads to call about your services, and you have caregivers ready to service clients. Your return on investment for your website, SEO, Google ads, caregiver recruitment ads, all of that depends on the ability of those answering your phones to carefully listen to the caller's needs, provide appropriate solutions, and move the caller to an in-home consultation or a job interview. Effective inquiry management also proves that your brand does what it says in your mission and core values. So for instance, if you say that one of your core values is respect, but the person answering the phone is distracted while talking to an inquiry, or there's a ton of background noise, the caller will not feel respected. Or if the person answering the phone doesn't listen carefully to the caller and address their specific concerns, the call will feel impersonal, and the warmth that your brand projected on the website will quickly fade away. But there are tools and techniques you can use to make sure that calls are handled in a way that represents your brand well. and converts inquiries to customers. So let's talk about some of those tools and techniques that we recommend. So one of the tools we recommend is a call listening service. There are several affordable options out there, including one called CallRail. Most call listening services allow you to record and listen to all of your incoming calls. In addition, the service can identify which marketing effort made the phone ring. For instance, it can tell you if the call resulted from a Google ad, from organic search, or social media efforts. And this is going to help you understand which marketing efforts are working well and which ones are not. Also, listening to how your team handles incoming calls can help you celebrate successes if the calls are being handled well. And since they're recorded, you can use those recordings of calls that were handled well as training examples for other team members. You can also hear when calls are not handled well and then provide training and procedures on effective call handling. We have listened to so many inquiry calls in our work at corecubed, and we can tell you that it requires training and practice to do well. It's crucial to keep the conversation positive with your team and focus it on helping them to do their job with skill and compassion. People calling home care agencies are often already overwhelmed. Good customer service and solutions-oriented call handling will make your agency stand out and help you get more customers. Then there is the CRM. We always recommend that you have a CRM or a customer relationship management system. Too many companies let the initial phone call become the end of the relationship. Not every caller is going to sign up for service on the very first call to your company. Some will be comparing your agency to other agencies. A CRM will allow you to set dates and times and reminders to follow up with those who have inquired, either with a phone call, a text, an email, a brochure, or a note card in the mail. CRMs also let you record detailed notes about the inquiry so that when you do follow up, you remember their story and the issues that are causing them to seek care services. Additionally, CRMs give you a place to store email addresses. Building a good email list allows you to send digital communications to potential consumers and referral sources to stay top of mind so that they choose your agency when they're ready to make a choice. Finally, a CRM also gives you a place to store contact information and notes about your referral partners. And it allows you to schedule when and how to perform outreach to these important referral partners. Home care is a complex business, and leaving all of this detail and follow up to memory is just not a good idea. That's why a CRM is really a must. Okay, so we're going to review now our top 3 takeaways from today's presentation. It's important to review your website to make sure that your brand messaging is well crafted and prominent. It's also essential to make sure that you're establishing trust in your site visitors by making trust marks prominent on the site. We recommend a professionally designed logo and that you work with a professional to build and maintain your website. We also suggest using professionally created photography that builds a sense of what clients will feel when they use your services. The site should be well organized and not overwhelm the user. And then use SEO, Google Ads, content, and social media marketing to attract qualified traffic to your website. Understand what marketing efforts generate the most calls, and then use this information to do more of what works and less of what doesn't. And finally, ensure that when people call or fill out your website forms, Your inquiry handling team is well trained and uses a CRM to schedule follow-up communications with potential clients and referral sources. Train with positivity and a reminder to your team that they're helping people through a difficult time, and that's making a difference in someone's life. And also realize that it can be taxing to hear people in distress. Sometimes inquiry team members can experience call fatigue and they need a break or someone to back them up on call handling. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Olivia.
Thank you, Amy and Marissa, so much for walking us through those key components of how to stand out. And so at this point, we'd love to take any questions that any of the attendees have. And I'll kick it off with one that we received is, will the handout on this presentation be available at the end of this webinar? Now, it won't be available right as we conclude, but I can assure you that all of the registrants for this webinar will be receiving an email with links to both the recording as well as the slides. So that will be landing in your inbox. You know, I love it if you are taking notes, but also don't worry about that. It will land in your inbox as well. Another question we have is, Marissa, you mentioned Google ads often. What would be your advice on Bing ads or Microsoft ads? I know as it's called now.
Google is still king. That's, you know, where the most results are going to come from, but that isn't to say that you can't get results from other search engines as well. So I'd say if you have the funds, go for it. But if you haven't started yet, I would start with Google.
Makes sense, makes sense. And kind of on a similar note, we have a question here. If I can't afford both SEO and PPC, which one should I start with?
Yeah, well, it really depends on what you're looking for and how fast you're trying to get those leads in. As I mentioned earlier, you do get faster results with PPC because once those ads are up, they are showing, versus SEO. Sometimes, you know, you're buried on page 3 of search results for some of those key search terms, and it takes a while to get onto page 1. With PPC, you can sometimes start off on page 1, but again, you're paying for that slot and you're competing with other people who are bidding on those same keywords. And depending on what your monthly budget is, your ads are not going to show 24 hours a day, every day of the week. Google's going to spread your budget that you've chosen to show your ads periodically throughout the month. You certainly wouldn't want Google to, you know, show your ads 24/7 and then by day 2, suddenly you have no budget for the rest of the month.
Yes, and I will reiterate what Marissa said earlier. I've managed PPC campaigns over my career, and it's important to know what you're doing in that tool, because Google wants to spend your money, and so you have to make sure it's spending it correctly. Exactly.
And Google will, you know, they do have a service where they'll run the ads for you, but I definitely wouldn't recommend that because Google does not have a good understanding of the home care and home healthcare fields. So they will send you some really bizarre results in my experience.
Oh, wow. Another question we received is, what has been your best resource for A/B testing?
It used to be Google Optimize, but that sunsetted as of September 30. So there are other options out there. There are paid services. I haven't tested a lot of them, but you know, if you search, you know, another option for Google Optimize would probably be your best search keyword, I should say.
Great. We have another attendee who says, we are a smaller agency and we can't invest a lot of money in digital marketing right now. What is something that we should be doing first to get more traffic to our website?
I would suggest working hard on your Google reviews.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. You read my mind.
Asking people to review your agency on Google and you know, helping them through that process if they're not, naturally able to do that.
Another easy thing that you could do is work on your building your online directory listings. Sometimes those are called citations, but it's really just online directory listings because most of them are free. And, the more places that you can get your name and address and services and phone number out there for free, the better.
Yeah, it increases your footprint on the web.
And I think I'd be remiss not to talk about caring.com, of course. If you, tapping into our directory and in our network, that's a great way to kickstart your agency's growth. And, we get that question a lot too of, do I work with caring.com or do I build my own marketing strategy? And we would encourage you to do both. Absolutely. But that's a great way to at least get at the beginning of someone's journey as they're looking for their options and knowing that they're likely going to return to your website. So optimizing your website is key as well. All right, we have another great question here. Are there any secrets to increasing the conversion rate from your website? So considering your design is good and it reflects the company's values and mission, maybe repeated contact form or request of callback, any best practices that you follow?
Well, I think the answer depends a little bit about whether we're talking PPC or SEO. But some of the things that can help with PPC are to improve the keywords that you're using in your ads. And then once they get to the site, do that heat mapping to see what is it that's keeping people from calling us or filling out our form. Usually with clicks and, where they're going on that page, you can tell what it is they're missing. Like, for example, you can see that people are hovering over the first two questions on your contact form, but then they're not hitting the submit. And that could mean, I really just need to simplify this contact form or list the phone number more prominently. Or here's another option, add a chat button to your website. Those are becoming increasingly popular when people don't want to fill out a form, that they prefer to talk to somebody live.
That's great advice. Another question we have is, we talked about logos. Do you have any other recommendations for logo types?
Well, I think the most important recommendation is that it's readable. And so sometimes agency owners might like to go with something that is a script or cursive type font. And if you're going to do that, you want to show it to a fair amount of people to see if they can read what it says, because the issue with script fonts is that sometimes they're not readable. And if you look at the trend in logo types, I think they have become more simple in nature. So you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it in your logo.
That's a great point. I think I've recently seen even some of the classic companies that you're familiar with. If you look at their logos over time, they evolve to just become very, very simple.
Yes.
Here's an interesting question. We've talked about simplification. AI, it's a hot topic right now. Have there been any AI applications that have helped you with driving traffic to websites? Or in this case, they ask about Facebook pages as well. Any AI tools that you found to be useful?
I think what has proven, at least for me, to be the most helpful with AI is coming up with new ways that people are searching for care. There's only so many things that you can think in your brain or search, and AI is going to kind of speed up that process for you. It can also help with writing the social media posts. It can give you ideas for the social media posts. It's just important that you don't plug exactly what's in the AI into anything, because it typically isn't written well, or it's a little wonky, or there's something just not quite right about it. But it's great for generating ideas.
Yeah, it's very robotic. It won't have that human voice to it. And you want to take what you're getting and add that human experience to it.
Great for overcoming that writer's block.
Yes, yeah,
editing that.
generating
Yeah.
ideas, creating an outline. Those are all good uses.
Perfect. So yeah, that would be great for both the website and Facebook page of helping with that content. That's a great point. So another question that we have is what is the best timeline for the call follow-up or to call for follow-up when they are not yet ready during that first call?
I would say within a week or two, if you are recording notes from the call and had a good conversation with the caller, you're going to understand whether or not they are searching with a very immediate need or not. So it could be as early as a week later, or it could be within the next 2 weeks. You'll get a sense for that on the call.
I think one thing that people forget about is that longer term follow-up as well. When they choose an agency and they've worked with them for about a month and then they decide this is not the agency for me, there's your opportunity to get that lost business. So I would also do, a month, maybe 6-week follow-up as well, and just say, hey, I wanted to check in and see how things are going.
Great. Another attendee asked, so we currently do ask for reviews, but they never get completed. What is something that can help with this? Or is there a service that can help with the follow-up on reviews?
Yes, absolutely. There are different follow-up services that sort of automate the ask for a review and give people direct links to the review sites that you want them to leave a review on. I know corecubed offers a service called Rise. I believe HCP has a service as well, and there's other paid services out there for that. I think the important thing is to ask multiple times without spamming, but especially if you're emailing instead of texting, you can follow up, every couple of days for maybe three times. And if they still don't, then give it a quarter, 4 months before you try again with them.
And I will mention that caring.com also offers programs as well. So if you're a partner, we do have campaigns to request reviews for your caring profile. And then something else we offer for partners is not everyone is all that tech savvy. So if you have anybody who's struggling to leave reviews digitally, we also have a toll-free number that our partners can use to collect that review for someone who doesn't feel comfortable going online. All right, well, it looks like we have a couple of other specific questions that we can get to offline. So that'll conclude the Q&A portion for today. Thank you all so much for these great questions and being so engaged on today's webinar. And Marissa and Amy, thank you so much for providing your expertise for today's presentation. And at this point, I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what corecubed does.
Yes, we are a full service marketing company for care industry. And we do everything from car wraps and billboards to brochures, website design, any digital marketing needs that you might have, SEO, PPC, social media advertising. And what haven't I mentioned, Amy? Oh, sales consulting we do as well. We do mystery shopping.
Inquiry training.
Yes, inquiry training. Mystery shopping of either your agency or other agencies. So really pretty much anything you can throw at us from a home care or home healthcare marketing perspective, we can help you with. Wonderful.
And so you see the information here on how to get in touch with corecubed, and we'll also be sharing contact information in our follow-up email. It's been such a pleasure collaborating with you both on this topic. So thank you so much for joining today. And thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. We at Caring, of course, welcome your feedback on today's presentation. So there will be a survey that pops as this webinar closes. Please share any feedback that you have, and if there are any topics that you'd like to see in the future, please let us know. There will be that survey, as well as you can contact this phone number and email address listed here To stay on top of Caring's upcoming webinars or view our webinar archive, I encourage you to check out partners.caring.com. And with that, we will let you all get back to the commendable work of helping seniors, and we hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.